Welcome to the Transform Tales, the podcast where we explore the power of change in our lives, our work, and the world around us. I'm your host, Brooke Addis, and in each episode, we'll be chatting with inspiring individuals about the pivot points that changed everything: career leaps, personal breakthroughs, community revolutions, and the tools and technology that made it possible. We're diving into real stories behind transformation, turning your what-ifs into what's next. Hey guys, thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I never thought I'd see you in this building, though. Obviously.
No, we don't come here much.
First time?
Yeah, it's a really cool studio.
Yeah.
Should definitely, I encourage more people to come check this out.
I agree.
We don't do enough. We only do 7 days a week. I wish there were more days of the week we come in here.
To get more done, yeah.
I tried to do 8, didn't work out.
Oh, well, you know. Well, thank you for making the time today.
Mm-hmm.
I have to start off by asking, you guys have been business partners for quite some time now. How long does your life of knowing each other go back?
Too long.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where like we knew each other, but not well. And then we reconnected years later and then became good friends. And shortly after that started the original StudioME together.
Yeah, I think it's, the city's too small not to know somebody. And we actually met in like 2008 or 7-ish. And we went to the same gym together. And It wasn't that we went together. We just saw each other there the same time every day for like months on end. And when you go somewhere consistently, you start recognizing, you wave, you nod, all that sort of thing. So it turned into like us just chatting with a bunch of other guys that were all at the gym together. And I moved across city down to South Side. We were way up in the middle of the city at the time. And we didn't see each other for probably 5 years almost. And
Wow.
ran into him at a gym in the South Side area. And I was like, what are the odds? And then
Saw each other in the locker room and we're like, we're going to be business partners.
That's how and now we're here today in this
and
new
now we're here.
space.
Yeah.
That's how all businesses start. You see each other
In the locker room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not, they say the golf course, it's
Yeah.
one and the same, so I
Yeah.
believe it. But
Yeah.
very funny how it came back around.
Yeah, I think it was, we knew we were both good at something and we realized that in between our friendship, like we saw some good in each other in a lot of different ways. And we balanced each other in some weird ways too that just make sense to like bring that yin and yang together. So when it came down to that, we're like, okay, maybe we should, figure something out together. We're both trustworthy. We can figure things out. And we could kind of lean on each other on different aspects of it. So it was kind of, we were well-rounded when we came together and we were half and half and we were apart. So,
Yeah. And I think we were both in that point in our life where we were just kind of like plateauing in where we were. And we're like, we want to do something bigger. And we've gone through that this year too, of like, we had a lot of changes. I guess we should maybe go into some backstory if people don't know who we are.
Yeah, we're about to get there, but you can, yeah.
We can switch this top podcast around. We can edit
We
this
can edit
yeah.
things around. Well, what I was
Yeah.
going to ask is, if we look back before, StudioME is what it is today, Productions is what it is today, and the iterations it's been through. Looking back when you were both way younger, before you might have known each other, was the dream to be doing this exact thing?
Yeah. I said one day I'm going to make an AI operated podcast when I was, this was back in 2003. No. For me, I wanted to be a filmmaker. And then, I had one day on a movie set, and this is like right after I graduated college. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, no, everybody's from LA. Nothing wrong with LA, but these particular people from LA were not like the people I knew in Pittsburgh, and they were all very fake. And I just realized like, and movies, if you start at the bottom, it's very long days, very hard work. I'm like, man, this is a huge mountain to climb. And I just don't like the people that are in this business. And so it sort of turned me off from that approach. There's still a part of me that's like, maybe one day I can go make a film, but I want it to be on my terms. And, hopefully one day the business does well enough where maybe I can invest in my own movie. But I didn't want to take that approach. I wanted to do something different. And all through high school, I'd been making videos, and, I had a mentor in high school who owned a production company and taught me how to edit and taught me how to shoot. And I was like, you know what, I could just do what he did and try that out. And so, that was 18 years ago when I started my company right out of school. And my goal back then was just, how to survive doing what I like doing. And make it to the next day. And it kind of just grew from there.
I love that. What about when you think back, Joe, to all those years?
Yeah, I think mine's a mix of things. I'm actually going to nerd out for a second. I was actually in the Boy Scouts for half my life.
Okay.
And I think from that, being pushed into leadership positions and understanding things was very exciting to me, that I could look a little bit further than what's my 2 front feet, or my 2 feet in front of me. And kind of use that. And I've been a creative my whole life. My mom was super creative and my dad had the engineering side. So I kind of got both sides of it. So being able to kind of channel looking far ahead and being a creative and managing people and being in front of people was kind of my thing. So like, as I got my first job here in Pittsburgh and all that sort of stuff, I started listening to what leadership was doing and how they were working and stuff. And I was like super intrigued about maybe doing my own thing one day. And then that's when it kind of came together. When Keith and I were talking, again, we were at a part of like a transitional phase of our lives and everything where this makes sense to do it. And I always, at the time, I was at a creative director position and managing a team already, and kind of storytelling and doing all of that sort of stuff for large corporations. So this was just even more the merrier to be a part of, and for him and I to kind of make that business around it. And I can see it from my perspective, he can see it from his perspective with the video background, and we can put those two together. So
do you guys remember the first project you did as an official business partnership?
God. Oh, yeah.
It was.
You do? Okay. Yeah.
So it was a real estate podcast.
Oh,
and
Houses and Hills.
Yeah.
If they're listening.
So at our old space before we moved to this new studio, we had, at that time we really didn't have a podcast space, but we had an audio recording room. And so it was a tiny room. It was like the size of a closet. But it was a nice, it was meant for really just voiceover, like solo person in there. But they had a 2-person podcast. As soon as they get in there to start recording, they started drilling in our parking lot, and it shook the whole building. And so there's no matter how much sound editing in that room, like it didn't matter. And I was like, this figures, because before that, I mean, even leading up to that point, we faced a lot of challenges of, getting the lease going, building out the space, construction, delays on our permitting and stuff like that. So like we finally got to open, we finally had a client, and now their whole recording is ruined. And I forget if we rescheduled or we just waited until they stopped drilling and worked in between, but I think
we redid it later on. But that was like a nerve-wracking moment where we look at it now, it's like we laugh about it, but at that moment, that was the first dollar made and not pushed in by our own personal bank accounts. It was actually coming from somebody who saw what we had, So it was a nerve-wracking. We were running back and forth pacing to see if this thing would work out, and they'd stop jackhammering at the McDonald's next to us.
It is kind of cool because we didn't really even think about podcasts for another 2 or 3 years probably after that. And so to have that be our very first thing that we did there, which wasn't the original vision, that's pretty cool.
There's the string theory tying it all together there.
Yeah.
If you look at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's the first thing. And then we had a couple larger projects after that through just connections and Keith's connections already in the world of video. But then I think the projects then they started kind of flowing after a couple of years. The team that we built around it and stuff, we're starting to get their glide and try to understand how to operate with clients, and the system we were putting in place was working. So I think things just became harder after that because the goals started getting bigger and everything. So then we quickly started forgetting about every project we work on and trying to move on to the next one.
Yeah. I know what I was going to say. So that the reason that they came in is, it's funny because it's still sort of true to a lot of our guests now. They were in a co-working space, but every time they were trying to record on their own, somebody in the bathroom was running the hand dryer. And so it was making, noise. And I was like, and that was, part of the reason we built a studio space is that, no matter what the technology is, no matter what we're doing in the space, we're a nice space for video, that's sound proof, or at least gets rid of most of the sounds unless there's drilling in your parking lot, that you can control the lighting and the environment. I was like, that's something that's gonna survive. And that was what we originally had based our whole studio model on, was like, how do we take a traditional studio space, which has a controlled environment, but redesign it to be, more fitting for modern media creation.
How did you guys end up on the east side of the city? How did you, was it picked out or?
We looked everywhere, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a real estate agent that was kind of guiding us along to find a commercial property. And she was kind of asking us goals and, clientele or demographics that, would work. And we didn't know because this is a brand new concept. And so we were like, okay, what's the next most up and coming neighborhood that's got technology and, there's a lot of promise and there's a lot of growth that's going to happen. And it came down to East Liberty just kind of being that perfect circle and like the right recipe for us. And we got in at like a great time at that point because we were looking at 2015-ish into 2016. And, that was just a nice spot to be in. It felt good. There was a lot of incubators in the area and things that were, said to be built soon in that space. So we wanted to get in.
And I mean, when we looked at the space, every other space was already built out. This was just like a blank canvas. And that was attractive to us that we could, our whole model is based around like, how do you maximize a space to have a studio that's, big enough and small enough at the same time, like small enough where it's affordable, but big enough to serve the purpose of creating the, high quality content. And that space let us, design it perfectly the way we wanted it. He has an architectural design background, so that helped.
Cool.
But every other space, it's like you'd have to kind of modify it to the point where it's like you might as well just build it.
Yeah, put a damper on the creativity there.
Yeah, we were able to customize the height of every single electrical outlet on the walls, or if they're closer to the ceiling for ceiling lights. We were able to run the wires in the ground before they poured concrete to specific areas. We need outlets in the middle of the floor.
This is really your baby.
So we literally could do whatever we wanted and like move walls around and make height change and everything on the fly before it was actually built. So we 3D modeled the place out. Through renderings in the window. And that was funny because people actually thought it was built by them, and we had our website going. And so people were asking about when they can book. And it's like, we're not even pouring concrete yet. So it was a good, like, kind of, hype, to put it out there to show that we were coming in the neighborhood.
What was cool too is before we even found that space, we had it drawn out on a napkin, and it didn't end up being that far off from our napkin sketch. But I do remember it was weird because we had the door, I think, on the right side. And in reality, when we moved into the space, our door was on the left side. But I once had a dream where I was like in the studio space because we'd been looking at, just our drawings forever. And in my dream, the door was on the left side. So I was like, maybe that's
Maybe
a
this
sign.
is it.
Yeah.
So in your time when you were in East Liberty, at what point did the next level of your partnership come along with having your own idea to do something that no one had ever done before with this build?
Do you mean
your application
tech,
piece? Yeah.
Yeah. That was just built over a long period of time with different components of it. So the original thought was once people started, once podcasting started taking off, we were like, okay, there's one space in our studio that we were kind of just using as an extra room, as an extra photography studio. And we're like, why don't we just, try to turn this into a podcast space and see if anybody books it, because we had done a few little podcasts like the one I just mentioned. But it wasn't that big at that time. And we built it and it just like slowly started getting some bookings. And then I guess if you want to get into COVID.
Even before all of this, when we wanted to take the concept of big scary studios that the public couldn't get in front of, or there was a big paywall to get into because usually they were made for large productions and corporations to use, we wanted to look at as, if I were in their shoes, how would my experience be streamlined and be frictionless going into the space and not be scary and all of this stuff. So our first studio was literally operated off of an iPad tablet. So we had the back drop came down. Yeah, Keith's got. Yes, we still have a tablet. But it started in that studio first, and that was kind of a cool new techie thing that it's not as scary as you think. Here's this tablet. You can change the backdrop colors, the backdrops. You can move the camera just a little bit, that sort of stuff. And then it snowballed into, okay, if we're going to add on other things, we still need to make sure it's optimized for the public. They can use the space. It's friendly. And then from there, it's like, well, what if one day if this whole thing could just operate itself and we didn't have to touch anything? So that's where that pipe dream or that idea was kind of like started in 2016. And now where we are now for our next phase is literally at that point where you don't really have to touch anything and it does it itself. So,
which is crazy exciting.
Yeah.
So how long have we been over here off of the Boulevard of the Allies now.
Well, I should mention for those watching this, nobody's actually operating anything. You'll see the camera switching between us. That's all AI driven and what we're working on. So this podcast won't have to be edited unless you want to edit it for fun. But
yeah, nerd out. Tell them all the things. They can't see what's happening. There's no one in front of us. Like,
yep, it's just the three of us, and I hit record on here, which I guess you can't see it in the shot. I hit record on this. Oh, no, one to you. So
I would say all in too. Like, so we've been in the space for, well, we signed the lease, I think back in June, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, June. Moved in past couple months. The kind of, I guess, idea for us to move and to get bigger was we were just outgrowing our space. Other teammates were coming onto the team. We were seeing a bigger vision. I think we were getting larger opportunities and bigger names looking at us, that in order to make the next level, to really sync those relationships and bring them in, were then to upgrade and scale everything up the way and kind of take that risk. So it was an educated risk that we figured, but at the same time, we still had to jump off the cliff and see if it would work. So we've been fully operational since the second week of August. And now we're in the middle of October now. So everything has been fun so far. People love the space, and we've tripled our square footage. So it's a lot more space now.
It's our first time here, but we love it.
Yeah, we love it.
And the building has history.
Building has history. Yeah. It's the Paramount Pictures building. Peter, one of our managers, loves to talk about the history of this place. It's kind of awesome to see full circle another media production team in here. And we always joke our last place was so small, we were literally sitting elbow to elbow. And then now we can't find a single person half the time. So we're constantly texting each other within the building because we can't find each other. So that's been actually kind of annoying.
We built a little internal management tool, and inside of it, I built a little AI chatbot that we can ask it where things are located in the space, because we are constantly losing, where's the label maker? I don't know, just, random objects around the space now. So that's been helpful.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this building. I love the space. I think it's nothing against the last space. It was lovely for Gen 1 of my first ever podcasting experience. I had a great time. The feedback I've gotten from guests who come to this space is just incredible.
Okay. Yeah.
The history behind the building. I think the layout is great. I think the fact that if somebody was running behind, or if you were early, you could actually have a seat and talk to somebody. I think you guys did a great job, and clearly a lot of thought still went into it, even though you weren't starting from literal no concrete on the floor.
Yeah, it was it's funny because our first space, we had a lot of what if we had more space? What if we had more money? What if we could do this? And we learned that throughout the years. And then we got into a space where it's okay, now we have the space. What if we did exactly what we wanted to do? Yeah. What would that next generation? We learned a lot
in 9 years of what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, what would be the next generation of us, on this? And then from there, what's the next level after the fact, So we're in that second tier from our first tier now of okay, we've got everything we've ever wanted and set up. Now what do we do for the third tier?
Yeah. And I mean, we're still improving even these spaces as we go, because, each space, when you first move into it, has its own unique characteristics. And here, because of the tall ceilings, we learned we have to do a little more sound editing, but we're catching it super early, as opposed to the last space where it was much longer of a process to fine tune the spaces. And so within, a matter of a month, we're ready to, we're pretty much good to go now.
So this just plays right into my next question, which is great. You're obviously seeing success. I mean, looking at a decade in business together, new, bigger space. I know not that long ago, an international filming project was done, if I remember. Was that earlier this year?
That was earlier this year.
Yeah. Which I know that was pretty cool. That's a huge milestone, obviously. What, for each of you as, owner operators, kind of collaborators, what does success look like now versus when you had that first client trying to do a podcast in the old space?
Yeah. You want to take this?
I think to me, it's building a nice structured team behind us that can fully do everything we've been thinking about. I think that's my success, that what I feel like is success now for us. And that's the main goal here going out, is putting everybody in a successful position, and everyone's happy doing it. And everything's just humming. It's just working. And we are then being checked into with other employees and what's going on and everything. And those projects are successful for the client. So the automation side and making sure that things run smoothly is kind of like what I think is success for us, versus running around with our heads cut off and like micromanaging and thinking about things we don't need to be thinking about. We have a mentor, and we have a few great friends and connections who own large corporations, and the level of I guess conversations we have with them are exactly what I was kind of talking about, is making sure that their team and their corporation's working properly, everyone's in their right spots, and they can go to bed and sleep soundly and not have to worry about things. So I would say, like, as long as things are progressing and I don't have to feel like I'm have to worry every night, because we always constantly talk about that or send each other early morning or late night texts about, oh shit, what happened? I think that's a successful thing for me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I remember the first year we opened, you're in that's definitely the roughest patch. I mean, you're full of, like, right before you open, you're full of a lot of passion and excitement, and then kind of reality smacks you in the face. And what do we used to say? It's like getting hit in the face by a 800-pound gorilla every day, or falling, it's like you're going up the steps, but you're falling down an escalator.
It's like walking up an escalator that's going down.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah. So then now, we're finally, I feel like our success after that first year was like, can we just make it to year 2? And then our success after year 2 is like, can we make it to year 3? And I feel like, the last few years now are finally like, how do we now take what's working and then take it to the next level?
How big has the team grown to be now?
So we have 7 of all of us. For a while, things were split, where Keith and I had StudioME proper as it was. And then Keith had Parish Digital, which is the more traditional production. So we've merged the teams together and became like a nice top-down creative team now. And we're even looking to add on a few more and everything, as some opportunities are coming in, and some other relationships we build are finally like coming in and asking us to be a part of their team. So that's an ever-growing thing, I think. So.
Awesome.
Our goal was always to bring the companies together, but it just wasn't the right time in the past. And we've just had some good opportunities, and we kind of wanted the basis of both companies were under that media made easy, whether we're on site doing productions or we're using technology in studio space. Like, we just want to make it really easy and, give clients more with less. And so that was sort of the theme of both companies. Now we're bringing that vision, together. And I think we're just gonna be stronger, as one solid unit, versus being sister companies.
I love that. And I mean, I don't know all the logistics of the timing behind that, but, with finding a new space, because I remember filming earlier this year, and you guys were having a heck of a time over at the old space with like what the landlord was or wasn't doing, or growing pains, right?
It's just, it's like every little thing that you have to consider. It's like it's a breathing entity. Like, it's a thing that, it's kind of like your body. You've got to, eat well, work out, don't drink too much, don't do this, make sure you don't eat too much candy, eat, like all this stuff, get more sleep. It's like the same thing for this. It's like, all right, we got to take out the trash, make sure this is paid. That person is happy, so we got to refund them. Like, there's always these little tiny things going on. So like the landlord, that's just like icing on the cake when it comes to crap that we don't want to sit there and talk and think about. And I think that was another goal too, is like get rid of people and connections and things that are stressing us out. The landlord was stressing us out and just not playing ball, and they weren't looking to hear us out and everything. And I think it was a good time and a good message for us to like, okay, it's time to move on.
Yeah. It was managed by an out of town company, and they had switched management, partway through our lease, and
it's the worst.
I mean, it was just that, like, our people in the apartments above us would overflood their bathtub, and our ceiling would leak, and it would take them a long time to address it. And I ended up buying a bunch of ceiling tiles myself, because I got tired of looking at like stained ceiling tiles, in our lobby area, when that should be, a nice visual when guests arrive. So
Okay.
Yeah, it was just stuff like that.
Yeah. Ugh, well, hope the space works out immensely better.
Yeah.
So far.
I actually really like that it's kind of more central.
Yep, me too.
It's a lot easier whenever I've told people like, oh, this is like where I'm gonna. They're like, oh, perfect. Like, it's basically 15 minutes from anyone who's gonna come from the city.
So I think that was a huge win on this space when we were looking at it, and that's always been a struggle for us to find a new space. if we wanted to go larger square footage, you're not going to find a lot of that inside of the city, that's where we want it to be. You would have to go outside the city. Therefore, a lot of the people who come in here would have to travel further or be way out of their way. Something would happen where
Like
we
some
found
areas
this.
parking's like really difficult where, you can park more or less out front of our building. There's lots of parking spaces around or parking, paid parking lots, things like that. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of driving forces that like had us pick this space. It was just a nice fit. We maybe wanted to go larger, but we would have to sacrifice location and we didn't want to do that. So like, let's, to his point earlier, like make the best of like the square footage we have and still be accessible for everybody and make it easy, just because our motto is media made easy. It's like, make it easy for you to get here, park out front and walk in. It's all the way down to your experience at the front door. So
yeah, I mean, I did that. I am literally out front across the street. I got out of my car, I walked in and I said hello. So hey, proven, works.
Yeah, good.
Fact check that. Now that you're here, you're 2 months into this new spot, this new location. I'm sure the team has now meshed to like tracking each other down. What do you think is the biggest challenge in this building versus that building?
Honestly, this is better in a lot of different areas. I would say, like I said, that building was sort of we just built it from dirt, where this building already had some pre-existing structures. I don't know if we mentioned this before. It was old Panasonic Paramount building.
Yeah.
So they
logo's still out there.
Yeah. So this behind me, when it cuts back to the wide shot where the TV is, that was like where they projected old movies, and so executives, sat here and watched those, and so it has a really cool history. But at the same time, it's a very old building, and so it doesn't have that nice shiny, brand new just built space that our old one had, but this has the character to balance it, and it's it has a lot of bonuses that outweigh the negatives.
Good.
I think because the last one was a bit of a petri dish where we were experimenting, we were doing a lot of things. Our last place had like 25 miles of cords everywhere, where we've narrowed it down to make it a lot smaller and more efficient. I think a problem we're going to run into next, which is a big goal, would be getting clients that think this place is too small to shoot in, and then therefore we have to either get larger space or do something. So like that was the reason why we got this space, was to build credibility that we can move on to the next level of working with specific clients. So I think that we're going to run into that issue soon, where maybe a studio is just not big enough for the space and we need to go elsewhere to shoot, which is okay, but the credibility is that we have this, it's working and breathing on its own. And it's kind of here to show that we're serious. So.
And part of the technology you guys are working on is to make it so people can have this setup in their own offices or things like that. Like that's also something you offer. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's to go on beyond these 4 walls or 15,000 walls that we have, is to meet them where they are. And we've always been saying that, is, building them communication rooms, essentially. We built a handful of them already. And to kind of scratch an itch for somebody who wants to make consistent media that's high quality, that doesn't want to know and figure out all the guesswork when it comes around like operating all of this stuff, and to just make it easier in general. And also for us as a goal is trading time for money sort of deal, where, we're going out consistent shoots, we're constantly working around here and everything. And can we have things that are generating money or revenue monthly, that are subscriptions that people buy when they buy these studios and things. So that's kind of like the next piece of a third part of us that we've been starting to get into the past 2 years. Yeah. So,
and we filed a non-provisional patent on the AI software that we're working on. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
It's a huge milestone.
Yeah, it's big. It's a big deal. It's very official, and it kind of shows that it's needed. We had like a blanket search out there across the entire world to see if anyone was doing anything close to what we're doing. I think there are things out there that are being used in other industries, but specifically not used in doing what we're doing here. So, which is kind of neat.
Well, since we're on the topic of technology, it changes very quickly. How does that affect what you guys are working on? Does it help you? Does it make it harder?
God.
I think it's a double-edged sword for everybody, right? Like it's helpful, but at the same time, it makes the landscape much more competitive, drives down, what you can charge. So yeah, it's definitely, it's funny because when I started my whole, when I graduated college in 2007, I started my production company. I had to compete with the big, production companies with multiple filmmakers and they had, $100,000 worth of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And I, luckily actually at that time I was able to buy a $4,000 camera that could then compete with some of these bigger companies. And that's technology that helped me to get started. But now I feel like the script has, flipped a little bit on us, where we're sort of one of the bigger production companies in the city now. And now there's people, with their phones out there creating content. So, it's affecting us in that way. So now we're like, well, how do we, again, it's all about doing more for less. So how do we, even as a bigger company, do more for our customers, but still make it easier for them, still, not charge them what, the Hollywood movie style productions that are unnecessary, but meet that quality threshold that's required now to stand out.
I would also say too, it's not just the technology, it's the expectations from the person or the client or somebody that uses that on the day-to-day basis. And they think that their 4K iPhone can do exactly what our cinema cameras can do. So it's like, we're constantly listening to the gripes or the trends that people are seeing that maybe we're not seeing because we're so in our own bubble sometimes, and then trying to pivot off of that. So we're always trying to think about what's the next trend, what's going on. Does it make sense for us to get into that or not? So I think that's where the AI tech is kind of like our next like little rock to jump on, is to kind of, we've heard it, we've listened to everybody. Now it's time to kind of push that forward because that is a trend and it is something going forward that people are going to want to look for. So.
Well, I like that you both had a mostly positive outlook about it, because a lot of people are they hear AI and they, get a little afraid. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But there has to be some parts of like editing and, the day-to-day of what your job is that you're like, yeah, pass that off to some sort of program, that make it a better experience for the people that are working for you.
Yeah, it's like I used to work for a retail design agency, and we brought it on as basically a supplement for creative. So we do it here too. So, we would just ask ChatGPT for ideas that we can build off of, or see if it could create a quick video of like something we're thinking in our head that we can't really say and kind of describe. And we could use that then to jump and kind of, frog leap or leapfrog into the project we're doing. We have a couple of creative projects coming up. We're utilizing that to just be another supplement to not waste our time to constantly think about it and stay in our own bubble, but to look and see what inspiration's out there that maybe we're not considering.
Yeah, I think one of our strong suits has always been that we try to leverage the technology out there to let companies do more with less, because you have to, like, I think if people just stick to doing things the way they've always been done, then they're going to lose out to companies like us that are trying to figure out like, okay, this thing, like there's better ways to do things out there now because of technology. And so I think it's both technology and a mindset of being able to go into a competitive environment and steer your business towards, trying the new tools at least and seeing what works and what makes sense, and employing your own technology if you have to.
Did either of you ever think that, in your past roles and like working together, that social media and content creation would be the monster that it is today, of like driving full sales cycles for some types of industries?
Honestly, I think that's kind of the reason why we started the studios, was to enable everyone to come in to create their own content, because everyone's their own production team, essentially. Like, it doesn't matter if you're one man band or all the way up to a giant corporation, you have to create consistent quality all of the time to feed the beast. So I think we, at the time, were just kind of ahead of the curve a little bit on that, because at the time we looked around to see who was doing it, and it was YouTube. They had two places that was far West Coast, far East Coast. You had to have 10,000 plus followers to get inside of the place. Wow. And they had studio rooms you could go into that all had these themes to them, that you can create your content anytime you wanted to, depending on how many followers you had or how much revenue you were kind of generating. And that was early back then. They were starting that monetization. So yeah, we always kind of thought it. Yeah, it's massive now. I think we were just at the bottom of the mountain at first to kind of start thinking about how to hike up it,
Yeah. I mean, the whole original concept was that studio spaces haven't changed at all, but content has changed a lot, and it's changed a lot because of new platforms that exist and new technology that allowed crew sizes to get smaller, your footprint is smaller on a shoot now because equipment's been able to kind of downsize. And so, we took that idea of like, okay, this has changed a lot and this hasn't changed. How do we adapt? And, we did that through just redesigning a model, but also applying the latest technology at the time for a whole new market that was emerging because of social media.
So now if you were to go into a city like similar to Pittsburgh or anywhere, do you think most of them have a similar, obviously not the technology piece, but setup where someone like myself could come in and go, I'm going to go rent Bob's Garage Studio in Cleveland, Ohio. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you think or do you guys still think that you have a space that you can't find everywhere?
People do have amazing setups that we've seen. It's the amount of, effort that goes into starting up that production is what we've eliminated. So they might have the same cameras we have and everything, but somebody still has to sit over there and, kind of switch through cameras, constantly listen to audio, or they're constantly moving the cameras around to reposition the seats and things, where we've been trying to automate all that stuff to kind of let them do the easy pre-production and then also do tiny post-production, but the entire production together, bring it down 50 or 60% from what it used to be as far as engagement and, having that paid person to come in to help facilitate and everything. So there are great places and they are doing some awesome stuff, but they don't have the automation.
We're seeing more and more of them, but still nothing just like us.
Yeah. That's what I was curious about. I didn't know if I could go over to Ohio and pop in.
Well, that's the goal. That's the thing we've always thought of, that in our editing stations over there, each computer would be dedicated to a region of the U.S.
Oh, cool.
And we would be able to go to the West Coast computer and see a bunch of studios being operated remotely if they have to be, or operating without us even seeing what's going on, and go to the East Coast or the Midwest and find out what's happening. So that's kind of like why this technology gives us that low barrier to entry to those areas versus like constantly building out square footage and things, which is tough.
And we have actually built this type of studio there's another company that does podcasting. There's a couple spaces around the country. One's in Florida. And so we went down to Florida, basically built them out a space just like ours. And we, they operate it themselves, and we occasionally will remotely, help them. But that's the goal, is to be able to create one of these in, every major city. And
any place they need content.
We always said, like, if we can figure out the model in Pittsburgh, it'll work anywhere, because Pittsburgh's such a small market, especially for content creators. I think, any other city that's bigger than us, it would do really well. And we've heard that, but, both have families, and it's
easier said than done.
Yeah. I have young kids. And so for me to go personally now to open up in other cities, it was tough. But now I think we're getting to that next level, next business cycle, where now my kids are a little bit older, and we're like, okay, let's try to rekindle this idea of like expanding outside of this bubble. And we have another space in Oakland that's totally remotely operated. So
I was going to say, you're already proving that it works.
Yeah. Case studies are there. So.
Do you guys ever actually have to go? I'm just curious, because I've filmed in that studio. Do you ever have to go down there for equipment, or is it?
Far and few between.
Really. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, one of like Peter or Maria, one of our managers, might go over there really quickly to do something. It's in a co-op space already, so if anything needs to be cleaned or something happens, they can run in right away and do something for us. But no, it's knock on wood or materials or particle board. Like it's running and doing its thing. So
yeah, I like that space too. I had a fun time. It was I've only filmed there once, but it was cool to have Maria like on the screen and like she's talking to you and like setting you up, and then
virtual producer.
Yeah, right. She goes, "All right, you're good. I'll see you when it's over." And she just runs.
That space was just like meant for us to be a case study of it's possible to have just a totally unmanned space that we just can remotely produce from. And in that respect, it's been a complete success. And it's very rare that we ever have to go there, especially we've never had to go there, during a production to fix something. It's, usually the productions are just fine. It's in between where maybe there's a power outage or something and we have to go, reset some things or flip stuff back on. But it's also, a learning experience of what can go wrong in a remote space. So, yeah.
It's in a good location too, because the workspace that it's in, Avenue, has lots of parking garages around it.
Yeah.
So the times I do have to go down there, I'm like, there's a garage. It's going to be fine. Which is another thing I love.
Another cool full circle about this space is they were here in this space before us. So Avenue Co-working also had, they had
before they moved over where they are.
Oh, cool.
They had offices here.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
they were the last tenants here, I believe.
Yep.
Cool.
Before us.
I also wanted to note I hadn't been in the restroom that's on the right out in the hallway. Really liked the Lara Croft Tomb Raider poster.
Yeah. The movie posters are pretty awesome in the space that they've given us. The landlord, he loves the history of it and keeps up on it. And even on the lobby, there's the poster out there. He changes it out every month, or whenever a new movie comes out that's like a big blockbuster, he changes it out. So he just did a couple weeks ago to
That's
a new
so
movie.
cool.
Yeah.
We also found out that Paramount used to have a baseball team in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, which is wild.
What?
Yeah.
Were they better than the Pirates? I mean, not that it's hard.
I don't know if production teams were playing each other or they were like a little league thing, but they were upstairs above us. And I guess they lived up there. Like the team was kind of like based out of there.
Wow.
You know.
Fun
Crazy.
fact.
Yeah.
Peter did not share that with me. I'm going to.
He will.
Oh,
He
I'll
will.
have to ask him again. Well, awesome. Well, this is, first of all, I didn't know this much. So I'm just, this is incredible for me. I think people are going to be really excited listening to this. If someone is kind of where you guys were, let's say like 5 years ago, really passionate about what they're doing, enjoying what they're doing, seeing success, is there any advice you would give them or anything you would have changed in what you guys were doing? Because I'm sure with the way the world is now, there are a ton of people going, I can do content, but it's a lot of consistency and hard work. And
yeah, I mean, when we were starting out, I mean, we were somewhat naive in the sense of, I was like, yeah, we're going to build this cool thing. And then like, we're just going to be busy right away and everything's going to be perfect. And we're going to expand and go all across the country and stuff. But what happens in reality is you build it and then it works in little patches. And then it takes a lot of effort for people to eventually start seeing the picture, especially like I think we were a little bit early to what we were doing. And, you know, now I think we're in a point where that's like what I envisioned when I first started, but it didn't happen right away. And that's why they say like, you have to be passionate about what you do if you're starting a business, because that's the only way you're going to survive the early days of it not working and reiterating over and over again until it does work and just, you know, keeping that momentum.
Yeah, I think it's what I've learned over time is staying patient and then setting expectations. I think 10 years ago and 5 years ago, I'm a different person now. And like I've had phases where I was extremely optimistic way in the beginning, then moderate, and then completely not optimistic in a lot of situations just because we've been there, done that, or ran into a situation of an opportunity. So I think it's like in keeping our message simple as well. So staying optimistic or staying consistent, staying patient, and keeping that message consistent is kind of what I've noticed that's been most successful through all the years. Not getting too crazy away from the product that you sell or any KPIs or anything like that, and just stay to what you know and keep it simple. And I think that's been successful. So.
In the space now, as StudioME has grown, StudioME Productions, apologize.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Note the shirt. I hope the camera just cut that.
That'll be the next step in AI to be able to take visual cues.
Yeah. Get one of those like the new Ray-Bans where you wear the like wristlet and you can control it on your wrist.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Gave you a lot of work to look into.
Let
No,
me
I'm
write
just
that
kidding.
Yeah.
What is the most type of production you guys are doing out of this space? Is it podcasting now, like the most popular? I know when I was in the last, the old studio on the East End, there was so much voice acting happening that I didn't even know people could do that remotely, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it makes sense for like video or audio quality and stuff. What do you guys think is your biggest?
We purposely made 3 tiers of how we work. We've got like 3 tentacles of our services, and it's the traditional production work, which we go all over the country for, then the studio rentals and the podcasting and kind of helping the public, and then now the AI side of things on the tech side. So I would say the biggest part of us are still the productions outside of the studio and everything. But since we moved into here, the studio rentals are very consistent, and it's a very smooth rental process. and it's every week it's booked, or 3/4 of the month is booked out ahead of time, which is nice. So I don't know, it's a wash of things, because people ask us like, who are your clients? I'm like, it's literally everybody. We don't have a specific set of people that come in here or we go and shoot for anything. It's everyone who needs it, because I think we've been able to meet everybody at certain levels. And that was our thing, was to be successful or make other people successful through all these different levels of services that we have. So.
Yeah, no matter where they are.
Yeah.
So you could go and shoot a off or on-site production of something very high quality, like a pharmaceuticals company, versus like me being in here talking to myself on a podcast.
Yeah, and I also there's also like even inside big companies, there's different levels of productions that they need. So, and I think it took companies a while to realize this, but not everything has to be a super high end production, but some things do. And so we'll get some, we've had plenty of celebrities even using this podcast studio, or bigger companies just doing like their internal communications or doing, smaller announcements, but then they'll also do the big budget stuff with us in our other, our bigger studio where, we're building sets, so we're doing more custom type setups, or, we'll go to their location and shoot for them. So there's all different levels, and we were able to kind of hit most of the levels, unless you get to the point of like, Super Bowl level, high end quality stuff, but like we're everything else below that. So
I was just going to ask you if the draft has impacted your business at all.
We're starting to get some things around that, but
there's some opportunities that hopefully we get to go to the draft, which would be awesome. But yeah, nothing. I mean, me personally, I've not seen that yet. I think it's just affecting people how they get here, because the construction's insane in Pittsburgh right now, and everyone probably watching this could attest to how insane it is right now out there to try to get around the city. So I think that's the only thing. People get stuck in some weird traffic bunch up of like a road being closed or something. So
yeah, there isn't one singular part of the city that is not under construction.
Literally everything,
including the airport.
Yeah.
All of it.
Everything. Like to get here in Pittsburgh, to get to where you are, you're going to run into it. So
yeah, which is a nightmare. How do you guys handle your, I don't even want to say, I guess, your competition? Do you even think about like the people you're competing against? Or do you think there's enough pie for everyone to go around in the space that you work?
Yeah, I mean, I think the pie is always growing in this space. I guess I don't like sit there and check on my competition every day and see what they're doing.
You're not ghost following them on a fake account?
No, but like I try to keep. So I think the level of quality that the customers demand, I think, shifts. So like especially during COVID, it was all about like quantity, like how much can you just get out there and see what sticks, and it didn't matter if the quality was that good. It was more just content. And then that got so flooded that now it's like the only way to stand out is back to high quality stuff. And so I noticed that, like I noticed what other production companies, especially around Pittsburgh, are posting, and it's all really good looking stuff. And so how do we set our bar to be even higher than that? Again, how do you get more for less? And so how do we do that and still be competitive with what we're charging, and make our clients happy and like working with us? And so yeah, we're always thinking about that. In terms of this, I mean, I don't know that there's too many other podcast studios in Pittsburgh, so there's not much.
Well, just in general, as a media company, like we're not, like, I don't want to make this sound like I'm being rude about it, but we never look backwards or down on teams that maybe are smaller than us, or the quality is still the same, but they're still tiny. We're always looking further out of like, what do the bigger production companies do of those 25 person teams, or because they're usually working with the larger clients that know the trends of the world, and that enables them to do really awesome video, or there might be inspiration. We're constantly sharing on LinkedIn of the larger production teams of what they're doing with Coca-Cola, whatever, like, oh, that transition was awesome, we should consider. Mm-hmm. And that's, we don't like to look over our shoulder. It's always like, okay, what is that next person doing? Because we're going to get there too. And what do we need to consider to get to that point? So
that's a great way to look at it. Pittsburgh is always very competitive, I feel like.
Yeah.
So in this space, I was just very curious about how, you do, because I feel very similar, and even though I work in a completely different space in technology, there's so much technology happening here, but I still think there's enough that I don't need to go after my direct competitors' customers.
No. But yeah, and by the way, it's a small town, so I pretty much know everybody that not everybody, but I know a lot of people that own production companies, and we all work together.
Yeah, we
they'll rent
partner
our
with.
space.
That's awesome.
We
we'll
partner
rent
with a
their
handful
space,
of them. Yeah, like
yeah.
we ran into one of them today at a networking event this morning.
Mhm.
And we've worked with others. Say, hey, like you guys need work or something. We need a guy for lights. We need somebody for this because our shoot's bigger. So that's constantly happening. Or they're looking at our space to rent it out because they need a smaller space and not the massive studios to help out with their margins. Whatever. So we do it a lot, honestly.
So lots of collaboration. That's great.
Yeah.
I used to be a little more protective. Like when we first started, I was like, people can't know that I own Parish Digital and StudioME both, and like we have to keep them separate because I don't want my the people renting StudioME space to know that I also do productions. But I don't think like, especially in Pittsburgh, everybody kind of helps each other out. It's not cutthroat. Like I've definitely experienced some of that in some of the larger cities of everything being a little more cutthroat.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh's not like that. It's just a different culture here.
Do you guys have a favorite thing that you have worked on?
Bunch of cool stuff.
I mean, I know if you're even allowed to disclose what that project is, obviously, but there's just so much.
Yeah.
As far as like an area or a cool place to go to, honestly, it's this giant limestone cave of mine that we're working on and thing that we're in right now. Can't go in too much detail, but it's awesome and it's crazy, and you get to be under a giant mountain.
Yeah.
So it's pretty insane.
I mean, you mentioned my international trip. We got to go internationally to London to work with Billy Porter and hang out with him, and
it's really cool.
There's countless things like that. There's also the more run-of-the-mill type productions that are less exciting and a lot of just cranking through content. But what I love about what I do is like it's different every day, and there's always something new and exciting. And I get to see sides of businesses that most people don't get to see. They're sort of like stuck in their one little channel, or I get to kind of work with a lot of companies, get some behind the scenes, meet some interesting people, and get to be creative. And like I said before, my goal when I started my production company was like, how long can I do what I love for a living? And so far it's been 18 years and still going. So.
Yeah, I think it's like opportunities too, of like getting in front of specific people who are maybe exclusive that you can't, so these are athletes or people that are in movies or on TV for other things, or large investors or people who own these massive corporations that their time is so expensive, and why are you sitting and talking to me? Like, so I think that's been like a massive thing starting up our own thing, because now we've built credibility. So I think that's actually probably been the most impressive thing, is to like look back at photos and videos that we've taken, like, man, we got in front of those people, or we're in this location right now that you can't get into. Like, it's wild. So like, it's just, I think that's cool. The access is fun.
Yeah.
So
I love that. And Pittsburgh's kind of turned into a bit of its own little like slice of Hollywood. So maybe a film is in your future. I mean, who knows? Can you imagine? You're like, I'm flying across the country and now I'm filming.
Yeah. When I get to that stage in my life where I'm not as busy with the day-to-day business stuff, but yeah, that's
and being a father and all those other things.
And yes, and that definitely takes a lot out.
Has working with some of these like larger companies given each of you insight into the business you're building? Like, because you're seeing from a very different lens.
We were just talking about this.
Yeah,
okay.
So like
I was eavesdropping.
Yeah. Like recently I filmed, again, we get to see parts of businesses that not a lot of people get to see. So I got to see a business talking about their internal, strategy going into next year and how they're going to just be more competitive. And as they were talking, I mean, it's a huge company, and it was being live streamed to a lot of different branches of their company. But as they were talking, it was like, this is exactly what we're doing with our small company of 7, but just they're doing it on a much larger scale. And I got to see like how they do it on a much larger scale, and taking some of those, some of that business understanding. And so it's super cool to see and also get to be exposed to a lot of different businesses and how they do things.
Yeah, it's like thought process. We get to directly work with decision makers that are coming up with the ideas that kind of trickle down in the corporation. So we get to hear what the market's doing from them, or any trends coming up, or maybe we should consider about selling our videos differently for them because they're looking for a different way to communicate. So yeah, it's kind of cool to see like behind the curtain of like how the world's working. Sometimes you get to hear those conversations. So
what's the hardest part about running your business and the way you want it to be successful for your clients that come in, for you guys to do for yourselves? So like if you're running around and you're doing all this, video production, you're helping make content, you're doing these edits, do you still get to do that for like StudioME Productions as a brand? Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, like the original reason why we built the studio at first was to make it a passive thing that was working and breathing on its own.
Okay.
And we could go off and do other things. We quickly realized that we really need to stay close to it to keep it moving. So I think it's like always taking the thoughts out of our head and like expectations and putting it on black and white paper and just saying this is exactly how it needs to be run. And everyone's different, so everyone's not going to work the same and no one's perfect and everything. So it's a lot of like making sure the team's going down the right path. That's the hardest part, and making sure everyone's motivated, because we're no longer videographers and editors. We're business people. We're running a business. We got to make sure it keeps going and everyone's happy. And that stuff comes up all the time, every day. And then on top of that, balancing the brand itself. We just went to a networking event about branding and unpacking your brand and everything this morning. And it was people talking about Procter and Gamble and everything, and then kind of relating it back to us of like, do we still make sure everyone knows how to talk about our brand to the public? Are they acting like how they should because they're representing us, that sort of stuff? And that's been the hardest part, is marketing ourselves and storytelling and being in front of the camera versus behind the camera,
So it's funny because like him and I have different management styles, but I think it's good because it balances it. So I'm much more of like, I want the employees to be autonomous and do what they like working on and kind of go off on their own. But then, he's very much, he's more structured, which is good too. And I think you kind of need a mix. And especially because of our transition this year of bringing the two companies together, moving office spaces, like two very big things that happened in 1 year. And so it's very easy for the people that work for us to like sort of get lost in that. And so it's having us constantly reiterate, like, this is where we're going. And this is, here's an analogy I thought of this morning. So my daughter came downstairs wearing shorts, and she's done this the last week. And every day I'm like, it's cold out now and you got to wear pants. It's not the summer anymore. And that's because we gave her autonomy in the summer to like dress herself. She's 5. I guess I should have stated that first. She's 5. And so we gave her some autonomy to, dress herself. And now it's like, I have to tell her, okay, this is a new season. Like we're going in a different direction. Now you got to put on some long pants, and it's time for the long pants, put the shorts away, and just keep, do that day after day until everybody's in alignment, and still give her the autonomy to work the way she needs to work and getting dressed, but
with pants,
but with the appropriate, clothing on.
Yeah.
So.
It's he's very operational and likes to dive in things and give the team the autonomy to then just dive in. I'm on the aspirational delegation side of things, where I could see where we're supposed to go. Now it's making sure everyone kind of herds the same way. And so that in time, we joke around like we're a married couple, and then this is our house and our children are in the house, and we're bound by contract and things.
We're teaching
so it's
them
like,
how to get dressed.
So there's a relationship, like every now and then we're coming at each other and stuff, but we know how to like divide that from the friendship and everything, and kind of meet in the middle. Like, yeah, you're right. I'm wrong on this, or vice versa. Or we ask somebody, a third party, like, does this make sense or not? And even the guys and girls who work here, they know how to like get in between us and say, you know what, that makes sense, that doesn't. And we're cool about it. We're not gonna, we always say like business is not romantic. And so you shouldn't get emotional about what this decision needs to be right now, because it's either going to benefit us or it's going to crash us, So
that's a very good way to look at it. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think it is good. I've worked in different jobs, different careers, and there's always like the battling, like the good cop, bad cop kind of.
Yep.
I think it's great that you're like, hey, I want to empower you to work on what you want to. And then on the other side of it, you're like, yes, but this project needs to be done by next week. So yes, they can work on that. This needs to be finished.
Yeah.
So
we're learning. We have a mentor that's helping us guide us to the next level, and we're like settling into our separate positions and what we're going to be doing. And he talks about like who's going to be good cop, bad cop in a way, who's going to be in charge of what he calls the big rocks. And there's pebbles underneath that you lift every big rock, and there's something underneath to do. And that person's then liable for whatever happens with that. So it's kind of dividing and conquering and not hitting everything together at the same time and being able to trust each other. So it's been relatively pretty good for the both of us. Little struggles here and there, but we're understanding like what we're good at and what lane we have to stay in. So.
Yeah, I think with Joe and I, like we both balance each other really well. Like I said, but I think our core values and where we want to go, I think are in alignment. Which you got to. So you need that. Like you need. I think business in general, just everything's about balance. Like you can't go too far one way or the other with how you operate. And so for us to have little, debates about like how much like PTO do we give our employees, like just going back and forth about these things, but also knowing that we're coming from with good intentions of like, we both want to figure this problem out so that we can get over here.
That is the core. That's literally the core that keeps us sane, I think, amongst each other, is because of that, exactly what he said.
Yeah.
Because I may want to spend too much money about something and he'll make the thing like, okay, here's Joe spending money. I'm like, yeah, but think about how that person perceived us as they came in. We didn't have that one thing they didn't like or whatever. We need to buy that, or we need to get this. Then if it's a piece of equipment, like, listen, this one's failing. I was like, okay, then what is it? Like, if we buy this, what does it make sense? Like, will we get money back? He goes, yeah, because it goes faster and this does this. I'm like, okay, cool. Even though it's way more than we want to spend, it's going to get us in the long run. So yeah, that is literally the core of like, as long as we both mean well and we're both forward and it's not about any personal advance on top of each other and stuff, Yeah.
And he mentioned, it's kind of like we're a married couple in this business, but I mean, in marriage, you compromise. Like my wife and I that's what makes our marriage successful, is we both know how to compromise. And I think it's the same in business. Like if you have a business partner, you got to just know when to give and when to take, and how to sometimes meet in the middle, or sometimes, if you know, like this is where you want to get together, then you can, all the little decisions you'll work out. It'll figure itself out in the end.
Yeah.
And we get to vent about our wives. So.
Ooh, we might want to cut that now. Yeah. I was just going to say, your macro vision is the same. So all the stuff that happens underneath, it's totally fine. And I do say it's a little bit of like a, working relationship. Do you guys still find time to go to the gym and be friends? Do you have time?
So I learned early on that if you want to do more things, you just have to build yourself more time. And you've got to become a morning person, or you either have to become a night owl, but there needs to be an extreme. So I get up about 4:15 every single day, 4:30-ish, and I'm out the door by 5, and I'm either running on the road physically by 5:15, or I'm in a gym somewhere. And that's like the dad hours, or like my time before everything gets busy. So if I want 3 hours of time by myself, I need to get up at 4. If I want 2 hours of time or whatever, I'm getting up before what I call before the enemies get up. Like just get up and get going. And tell yourself that you're missing out on something, so you get out there. So that's the only time, because then during the day is, the business, in the evening it's family, and then even after the evening it's hanging out with my wife and watching a movie or something. Yeah. Before you know, it's 10 o'clock at night. It's like, well, crap, now I got to get up at 4:30 and do it all over again. So you build yourself time, and I don't believe that people sometimes like, I don't have enough time in the day. I'm like, you do. You just have to like train yourself to like make that a little bit longer. So
yeah, I try to go a couple times a week, but a lot of times, I have 3 kids, and I also get up early, but it's to get my kids ready to school, to go to school. They get up at like 5:30. So,
oh my gosh.
I usually have to get up like early to start getting lunches together and feed the cat and do all the, the other stuff. But, it definitely is harder when you have a family, and a busy work schedule. And I also have a wife whose work schedule is not consistent. She's in nursing. So, it's a lot of juggling stuff around, but I try to juggle the gym in between and make it a priority. So.
Maybe the next space gets a little more square footage and we put a personal gym in.
Or be closer to a gym somewhere.
Yeah.
So the gym I go to though is actually where we reconnected the second time. It's the LA Fitness in Southside, and it's, now that we're here, it's closer. So.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But I feel like to be successful, sometimes fitness and health is very important, to stay motivated and awake throughout the day. And it sets me on the right track every morning, and I can't do it in the evening. My energy's out by then. So it's just, if I can get up on the right foot every day, that counts. So
I also think it's really important. My dad is a business owner and he has been for over 30 years to take care of yourself as a business owner
Yep.
because you're juggling so many roles. You know, you have family, you have friends, you
Yep.
have a business you're running, you have a whole team you're overseeing. And then it's also like, okay, wait, I am a person in the equation here too.
Yep.
And I'm sure that sometimes when you're on those runs, you're like, dang, it's starting to rain and I don't want to be out here. But when it's over, you're like, I needed that.
Yeah, you got to build your foundation before you go out there and build another one for others that are depending on you. So I figured if I could, lead by the example, like how we stay in shape and, take care of ourselves and stuff that is led by, and then people see that too in our team, and others have started, working out or eating better and things like that. So
That's
it's like a bit
awesome.
of a ripple effect, we try to keep. So
Yeah. And I've gone from being in really good shape to then being out of shape, and I know what it feels like to be totally out of shape. So now I'm like, I need to be right in the middle.
yeah.
So
Yeah, there's
Mhm.
waves and valleys.
Ebb and flow,
And,
yeah.
it goes up and down.
Yeah.
I'm having a really great time. This is
Yeah,
just,
this
I'm
is
having a
great.
great time. We are coming close to the end here. My last question that I want to ask before I get into my real last question, so my second to the last question, is there anything we haven't talked about today that you guys wanted to touch on that has slipped my mind? There's just been so much that's happened for you guys this year. Like, should we be on the lookout? Is there going to be we doing a launch party here?
Oh, yeah,
What's the plan?
Yeah, I think,
no,
like,
I don't mean tomorrow,
I
but
think there was one about like, has our minds shifted about like what we cared about, what we didn't care about anymore? I think one of your questions was.
oh yeah, it was
It's like, what were you learning to like,
yeah, let me.
let go of or something, or your mind has shifted?
Yes. What's one piece of hard one wisdom you'd want to hear when your life is shifted through the phases that you've gone through?
Like the piece of wisdom. Maybe because I was going to say like worrying about small things doesn't really get you anywhere. And if you can let go of the small stuff and not stress yourself out and worry about the bigger picture of things, it kind of makes things look a little bit easier and not get into the weeds of things. I think that was my idea toward that, of like what I felt over the years and stuff. Like, no need to micromanage people, put more, faith in people that you hire, things like that, so they can take on the problems that you can't take on, or learning and understanding how to hire people that are better than you at situations and being humble. And that's a massive thing too, that I think I struggled with in the beginning, was staying humble towards everything, because people automatically think if you build a business or you start one, like, I'm this CEO, like, I don't care about titles. I hate titles. And when people are like, I'm a CEO of a business, I'm like, cool. And it's a one-person business. Cool. But at the same time, it's like, is that all you want to be propped up on, or you want to be a part of that? And, there are people being successful around you, and how, to stay humble and just bring people on who are better than you at what you're doing and could benefit you in the long run. So, I think that's an important piece.
Yeah, add to your success by building others up. I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to add, Keith?
Why is everybody looking at me?
I don't know. You
it's
said like
okay.
the next person in line.
That's it. I have one final
Yes,
question.
I agree. Be humble.
There's a song with those lyrics.
Yeah.
Thinking about where you guys are right now in your life, I originally had thought that you would each give me 3 words to describe it, but I'd like you to each give me 1 word of your outlook of your life through you as a human, family, for whatever, and then 1 through the business scope, if that's okay.
Yeah. So 1 word for the business?
1 word that would describe how you feel in like this season of the business right now and what it means to you. And then 1 versus, you waking up in the morning as a dad, living your life outside of the studio and the production company.
Yeah. I mean, I think my business word would be persistence. I think when you own a business, like, you have to just survive long enough to see the opportunities come. And I think that's where we're in right now, is like, we've done a lot of changes this year, and now we just have to stick with and persist until the next big opportunities come. Home life, I have to think about. I mean, persistence. Compromise. No, I don't know.
It could be the same.
Yeah.
I mean, or we can ask Joe what his is.
So like the business side, I had like little like 3-worders. I'm trying to like bring the first one. My first 3-word was, I just forgot it. Make your own luck, because I don't believe in luck. And so my 1 word, I guess, to that would be curation. or build. So like we're curating the future for our business. We're constantly looking forward for that. So therefore, if we're lucky in getting the business, is because we've been kind of building that as we go, or curating that and trying to find it and put the energy out there. For the home life, I think would be change. Making sure the family's changing. We're doing things together. The little guy's going to school and he's changing through his grades and his life and everything. And, making that consistent. The only consistent part of life is change. And as long as you're changing and there's some nuances, good or bad, I think that's progression in life. So I would probably do those 2 words.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Those were good.
Yeah. My word for my home life, I think, would be like resilience, because I want my kids to be resilient. I think that's an important trait that I've something that I think has helped me throughout my life, is that even when things are hard, if you just, again, relates to persistence. So even when things are hard, you can still persist.
I love that. Well, thank you both for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
I've had an awesome time with you. I think this is great. I can't wait for this to come out. I'm really excited for people to know that's crazy. I can't believe. Like, did you file it this morning? Like, what?
Oh no, this filed like a month and a half ago.
Who cares? It's basically today.
We just hit tier 1 2 weeks ago on the list, so that sounds like we're in the next part of the hopper of like getting it approved. But that's been going on for the past like handful of months. We've been putting that forward. So
Still a huge milestone. Space looks great. Again, thank you for being on, and I can't wait to share this out with everybody.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, bro.
Bye. If today's conversation sparked something in you, connect with us on social media. This podcast is brought to you by Transform Labs. We bring enterprise-grade technology, strategy, and execution to your company. From AI implementation to fractional leadership, we help you turn ambition into impact. Until next time, remember, your next chapter might be your best one yet. I'm Brooke Addis, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.